Yo, what is going on? It's your boy King Kunch, and we're here for our first edition of KunchTime. Here, where we talk about everything nerdy. And today, we got in a special guest in the building. We got in Josh from the Den of Nerds. He's here in the building, and we're just, we got to go ham. We got to talk about the multiverse, just what's going
Yes.
on. Like, we're not trying to get into, because me and you, I kind of like down on where we are, like in the nerdy realm right now, but like, focus here on on the motherfucking just the awesomeness of what we could be getting in the
Yeah.
multiverse and decoding what the hell is going on. So it's so good to see everybody up in here, dropping in here. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to leave a super chat, the link is in the description or it's in the comments wherever you want to find it there. But Josh, man, just first off, just dude, how you doing today, bro?
Good. We had a fantastic Nerdvenger stream earlier. I love doing those streams where I can just hear from, the community and whatnot. And it did kind of feel a little like, Nerds Anonymous, where everybody's going up and kind of talking about why they're a little upset or disappointed. So it was good, but it did have a vibe of like, oh man, like
It was
we're
like
really
almost
going
like a
through it.
eulogy type shit. Like everybody was
Yeah.
like, damn.
Yeah, we're going through it as nerds for sure. But no, I'm very happy to be here. Very happy to do this stream because I think it was last Monday, I did a big stream where at least half of it I was like, I gotta just go on the multiverse. And I've actually been working on that theory for a long time, and I brought up a lot of little things which I'm sure you and I are gonna get into. But I did see you in the chat, refuting it, and it reminded me of that. What's that one video game with like the lawyer guy where he's like, objection, you know what I mean? Like I felt like you were like, objection, So I'm excited
You're saying some pretty like controversial, because you got your theories, and like you make theories and shit. It's like you hear something and it's like, well, hold up, because for the most part, I feel like we're on the same line. Like we kind of got the
Mhm.
same type of evidence building, but I think we have different views on the evidence, and like that's what makes it so cool and the
Yeah.
speculating and shit too.
Yeah,
Because like,
100%. Look, I think the biggest difference, because I asked some kind of like specific questions, purposely, because I was like, this is where it's going to split us all apart. These are the
mhm,
sort of interesting things to think about. And I think the main one that you and I disagree on is I think that the sacred timeline was isolated and that the multiverse, that the dynasty has been, I don't know which one to call it, like looking over or whatever. I feel like that's always existed. And that
right.
was one of the big differences between you and I, is like you strongly feel that's not the case, right?
I definitely feel like that's not the case, because just from a nerd perspective, if it is the case, it kind of like would piss me off a little bit just from the nerd
Mm,
perspective, because the idea of the sacred timeline being there in the first place
yeah.
made it kind of split apart from like where everything else that we're going to see come in from the Fox X-Men, from Toby Maguire and all those folks. That's a added on bonus. Like it's not existing now in the other world, like because the main MCU, everything we've been watching is the sacred timeline, like
Right.
is there. So that's where we could start off, bro. Because what's with the multiverse and the multiple timelines, I'll explain it my way. Like, are you? Well, let me ask you this: are you saying that the multiverse that the Council of Kangs are watching would be the ones that would house the Fox X-Men universes, and the ones that we watched outside of the MCU franchises?
So that is actually kind of a separate question, but I do think that they would be in that multiverse with the dynasty, right? But like to me, here's the thing. There's what I'm essentially saying is that there are two multiverses.
Right.
One that has kind of just been around, and then another one that branches off from the sacred timeline. So that sacred timeline, I feel confident in saying that like 838 would be potentially a branch off of the sacred timeline because it's so similar. Like it feels like there's a lot of the same, characteristics and beats. But I'm not so sure about the Fox X-Men stuff. The old Daredevil movie, the old Hulk show, because we're kind of led to believe, and this is sort of the promise of the multiverse, is that all of the old Marvel properties, anything that's ever had a Marvel logo on it in television or movies, is its own timeline. It's a universe within the
Right.
multiverse. So that was a tricky one. Like when I was going over the theory, that's one that I couldn't quite figure out. And the main reason I can't figure that out is because I strongly feel there are fixed moments in time. Like I really feel like that's going to be something really, really important to everything that happens with Kang and all of the dynasty moving forward is that there are fixed moments in time. And what I can't explain is why the X-Men universe, like pick your Fox X-Men universe, why aren't there the Avengers? Why aren't there Doctor Strange? If that's a fixed moment in time, then why don't they exist in that universe? So I can't figure that one out. Like that kind of throws me off.
So I think in my mind, like the fixed moment of time is directly to Kang. Like I don't think it's anything that's above anything that Kang can change. So like, for example, with the fixed moment of time things and like the sacred timeline that we've watched throughout the MCU, there are certain things that had to happen in order to make that thing flow and happen correctly. So here's where I look at it. Like in certain branches, I feel like because folks are kind of dug into this theory as well, is that they feel like they were that the sacred timeline had universes kind of running parallel with it at the same time.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the case, except when you get to a point when that timeline branches out, like a timeline I feel like could go on for hundreds of years until it gets to a point to where like something that is a fixed point in time happens. And that's
mm,
when they have to prune it. So for example, when you think about old man Loki, old man Loki was like, I moved myself into equation and he lived thousands of years out on another planet. His fixed point in time was death. So he kind of tricked that fixed point of time, if you will, like
mm,
the events of that fixed point of time went on. But as
sure.
soon as he interrupted what that fixed point of time was, that's when they came and pruned it. Now, when
Yeah.
we go to what if, I think it's a different type of fixed set of time because
Mm,
then you have the Council of Kings. After everything that happened after Loki, after He Remains was killed, then you have the Council of Kings setting their own fixed set of time, like their own fixed point of times in each different timeline. So that's where it may
sure.
be a bit different, and that's where I think I kind of fell out because I think the fixed point of times are significant to like yeah these things have to happen in order for our plans in the multiverse to go because they
Right.
had to be that kind of strict. But at the same time, it's like it's that fixed because of Kang, not because of anything
Mm.
else.
That's interesting. So view them differently, and I think I'm viewing them more through the lens of like what happens in what if, right?
Mm,
Because we see the Strange in that just try over and over again to save Christine, and he's trying all this different stuff, but she dies, and so she's supposed to die in that universe, right? And that feels like something that's maybe from eternity,
mm,
like something that is so integral to that particular universe and the expression of eternity, because eternity is all possible time, all possible scenarios, like all at once, right? So I feel like I feel like it's coming maybe more from that, because there's this other part of my theory, and I'm really interested. And there's like, dude, there's so many thoughts going through my head, even as we're just having this conversation.
mm,
Like, it's crazy, right? It's pretty like highbrow, super nerdy, sweaty stuff. I love it. But one of the things I was talking about in my theory the other Monday was, well, what is this multiversal engine? Like, what is that? And how does that allow him to go anywhere and any time, and presumably also allow him to actually manipulate time, not just do like the time travel that we've seen thus far in the MCU. But I guess even saying that, I guess we should pause and let me ask you this. Do you think that what Kang's able to do with the multiversal engine is different than the endgame time travel? Or do you think when he was saying that to Janet, he was just gonna drop her in another timeline? Like, what do you think about that?
my my thoughts on that because I really hadn't thought that deep into a multiversal engine, but just like when it was brought out in Quantum Mania, my thoughts were that it allows him to just traverse the multiverse.
Mm,
Now, where it comes to a power of being able to manipulate the multiverse and change things, I think that that's a power that Kang has maybe tapped into. Um, there's two things. One, I think the Council of Kings, like we see with Ramatan, I think they're actually going through and doing time travel stuff. But like they have their own multiverse and they're able to do it through the like time travel in their own multiverse. So like
mhm,
Ramatut is traveling through time. That Ramatut went back in time and just kind of hands on did it. But then I
sure.
think you do have a power that this Kang has got his hands on to where he's able to rewrite like Janice said in the trailer. I don't think she ever said in the movie, but she said in the trailer to be able to rewrite reality and to be able to do those things because
Yeah.
there was a shot where that like that bot, that thing with the I don't even know what the fuck it was, but it had that circle head thing that shot
Yeah,
out the
circle
beam at him.
head. Yeah,
Yeah. To me, like, I'm thinking that he shoots out I'm big on cosmic energy, and I'm
yeah.
thinking that he shoots out cosmic energy at Kang, and Kang has the ability to manipulate cosmic energy,
Hmm.
and, I feel like he kinda changed it, and that blue color, the only thing that reminds me of that blue color is the actual time stream itself. So that's
Sure.
why I feel like he's tapped into enough technology that'll be able to allow him to rewrite these fabrics of reality and time. Now, like, that's my blinker thought, but, long story short, I no, I think that multiversal engine does just really allow him to go from multiverse to multiverse, and I think there's a
Okay.
bigger power that he has that would allow him to rewrite reality
Right.
when he taps into it.
So let's stop on that just for a second because so I think there's a couple of different reasons why I think it is sort of bigger than that. It's
Okay.
more advanced than just normal time travel technology because number one, I think it's meant to evoke the forever crystal from Avengers Forever, right? And that's a big part of that comic is like Immortus literally talks about how you can't actually change time. It just sets new timelines, right? Like
Right.
he says that, but he's like, but with this, I can actually change time, like with that forever crystal, right? And so I think that's part of it. Another, I think, clue is in Loki, Sylvie is remember that weird shovel
Mhm.
that she has at that one point? She's trying to mine some kind of time ore. I forget the name they give it, but it's in like the digital readout or whatever. And so she's trying to get whatever this is, this stuff called like this time ore, right? And so to me, I was like, okay, so if we think about Sylvie's motivations and her going, she already has a TVA thing, right? So she can go around. She's been hiding from them throughout time. Well, what does she want? Well, she would probably want to, like, actually change time, not just run, not just but, like, actually go back and change her stuff or destroy the TVA or whatever, right? So, the ore, I think, could be her route to do that, and that ore could be the same stuff that the multiversal engines are made out of, and what I think that might be is essentially a version of the cosmic cube from the comics, but in
Mhm.
the Marvel universe. So, it's like these like, if you think of the let's say the universe or the multiverse is like a layer.
Mhm.
Perhaps the foundation or something that's underneath that is like the beyond verse or really like the building
Right.
blocks of reality. So that's kind of like the train of thought that I have on there because in the movie, and this could just be like the actors, but in the movie, he doesn't say, I can take you to a universe where you'll have, he says, I can
Can
give
give
you
you
that time back.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, that just that rung different. You know what I mean? It rung different than like, I can change time. I can, you know what I mean?
And
Uh,
to that point,
yeah,
if we can circle back to He Who Remains,
yeah,
because I have this huge theory that He Who Remains is the reason of a lot of changes in our canon that that he sent Ravana on. So,
mm,
I've never thought of that of what you're saying as far as the multiversal engine being that like, being that type of asset, but what if that He Who Remains, he was able to use that power to be able to manipulate our that sacred timeline in order to go the exact way he needed it to flow so that he was the only variant.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
so then where I get to is when he knows that he's about to die, which I think which I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around like, does he just actually did he just want to go? Like
Yeah, it is a little confusing. I
what
think
was the motive for that? But
right. Well, the main question is he a reliable narrator?
right.
Like, is he telling the truth? Right.
I think it diminishes it if he isn't. Like I think
Well,
he's leaving a lot of things out.
yeah.
But, like, from the way every time I watch the episode, from the way he presents it, it's like, there ain't no room to bullshit here. Like,
Mm,
to me, that diminishes that episode if one single word was a lie. Like, I feel like he could leave a lot out. So, for
yeah.
example, like the multiversal engine and being able to rewrite time and that sort, I feel like he's able to leave a lot of that out. But where it's kinda tying in your that multiversal engine thought is with him knowing he's about to die, knowing what's coming with the multiversal war, I definitely think he went back and gave things to Shang-Chi and to Miss Marvel. And that second vibranium meteorite that came out of nowhere that we saw in Black Panther 2 that created Atlantis or Telecom. Definitely think that that could be something that he used to be able to change time. And even to the point of Janet Van Dyne meeting that Kang the Conqueror in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, that's a huge plot hole. Like, how did that even happen?
Well, that
I
is one
even
of the most confusing parts of like I think
both
any theory.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
like any theory, right?
that's the only explanation I come up with. Because like, yo, how was he exiled if these Council of Kings? One that would kind of give more proof to your theory existing, though, right? That these Council of Kings would have been there already. But
Right.
in my head, I'm thinking like, well, the only way that makes sense is if he who remains went back in time and kind of changed our sacred timeline to where she met that variant of Cain.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean that's a like you said, that's a really confusing aspect. I think for me, one of the things that makes that like when I was trying to like make sense of it, right?
mm,
I was like, well, technically speaking, she when she does that, when as soon as she enters the quantum realm, she's not in like time anymore, right?
right,
She's outside of time. And I guess it just kind of depends on your perspective. This is like a really weird, like actual quantum mechanics perspective idea, but
mm,
it would just depend on your perspective as to when it is for Kang. Do you know what I mean? Like, as far as from what point in what timeline does he then get ripped out of time and
okay,
set there? So I think it could actually still work. Like, it could still function. And like Quantum Mania kind of serves to make it seem like the council is either unaware of what's going on down there or they don't have like a direct way of knowing. Because to me, I feel like if they make that prison and they're like worried about him getting out, then they have checks and balances. They have the ability to know if something comes in there, if he calls a signal, like they would arguably know about the signal at just as fast as Kang the
right,
Conqueror, right?
right. They should be tapped
So
into it.
yeah, so I think there's and this is the other side of the theory that's really weird, is that I think they expect him to escape. I think that it's so timey-wimey, but, like, that line in the post-credit scene where he says, like, I sense you're just jealous because you weren't the one to kill him," or something like
Mhm,
that. Like, remember when he says it?
yeah,
I think that's because that's the way it's supposed to go down. Is that he's banished, but, yeah, of course he's gonna get out eventually. You know what I mean? Um, because I think and a lot of, like, where the basis for my theory comes from is from the Cosmic Circus people and Alex Perez.
mm,
So Alex Perez has been talking a lot about how, like, essentially the MCU has been on a loop, or the entire multiverse rather has been on a loop. Because this is true of the sacred timeline, but it's also true of the multiverse that the council is looking over. And when Ant-Man kills Kang the Conqueror, I guess it's Ant-Man and Janet together, or Hope, um, that's not supposed to happen.
mhm,
So the council has been basically like, they know this movie, just like He Who Remains knew the entire movie of the Sacred Timeline. They know this movie, so they know it over and over again. Something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. And I think the only reason and the only explanation for that is that the sacred timeline was isolated from everything that they were watching. They don't know about it. They can't account for it, right? So that's kind of where some of the theory goes. There's let me just ask you this question.
yeah,
There's a part in the movie in Quantum Mania where you see his shuttle crashing, and there are presumably like three other shuttles that also are like seen in the background. Do
mm.
you recall this shot?
I honestly saw that as just a ship crashing.
The ship
I
crash.
didn't yeah,
Yeah, could be for sure.
that's how I viewed it. Like stuff like that. Like I just viewed it as a ship crashing.
It
'Cause I-
absolutely could be, but I think some people, and I don't even know if feel this way like for sure,
mm,
but some people feel like that's the other Kangs, like coming in, making sure he's banished, and then dissipating. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe they led him there and then like, all right, we're out, type of shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. Well, they literally like either trick him into going or force him in or something like that. But yeah, like if they banished him there, like how do you think they actually banished him there?
I think they tricked his like, I think they just fucked up his engine.
But why would he go to that place if he has the ability to go anywhere?
Is that the way you travel through the multiverse? Like, you know what I mean? Is like, do you in order to get through the multiverse, is that a path you have to
Could be.
kinda step
Uh,
into?
the
Be
TVA doesn't have to though.
but the TVA doesn't go through the multiverse. I don't
They
feel
do though.
I feel
I
like the
think
TVA goes through well, you're right. They do go through
I
the
think
multiverse.
they do. They might go through it through a different way. And in fact, I've actually thought about this. I've thought about how those portals actually could be like quantum that could be quantum.
Yeah, it's
You know
color.
what I
The
mean? Yeah,
color up
it
is very
does. It
quantum.
matches it, right? So
Well, I
it could
mean,
be that.
that goes along I don't wanna get off topic of that, but, like, my whole dimensions theory type of shit, like, where it comes to magic and power, I think there is
Mhm.
something more to Doctor Strange tapping into a dimension that allows him to portal from place to place.
Sure.
Um, and I think that could tap into that cosmic energy that the TVA is using.
Yeah.
Um, but with that being so I do wanna go back to the whole how does the isolated timeline happen? Like,
Right.
what goes down to make the isolated time? Because I have my thoughts on what happened with He Who Remains in the previous council, but
Yeah.
what goes through your mind when it comes to
So, okay. So here's what I think. I think there obviously has to be some start point for the entire multiverse. And when I say that, I mean maybe the multiversal war that's described in Loki, like maybe that did actually happen. And then from that point, there is the creation of the multiverse, perhaps even the sacred timeline, because part of this is predicated on the idea that those four statues in the Citadel belong to the four versions of Kang, right? Mainly the three we saw in the council and then Kang the Conqueror. Okay. And there's this weird part in the movie too where Kang the Conqueror says, when you view time the way I do, it's hard not to skip to the end. And he's holding up what looks to be a circular universe, just like at the
Mhm,
Citadel at the end of time, right? So I feel like he knows that place. He's been to that place before, right? And so I think maybe what you have happen is you have the multiversal war, then you have the creation of the sacred timeline, and all these variants of Kang, just the main four at that point, rule the entire timeline from the Citadel at the end of time. And then eventually, one of the variants, and perhaps in the midst of another multiversal war or conflict, one of the variants figures out a way to kick everybody else out
mhm,
of the Citadel at the end of time and essentially grab one of the timelines. Because if you can go to anywhere in time, right? It's as simple as going to creation or just after creation and you start, kind of guiding it along, right? Like you start like kind of doing all the things to kind of keep it isolated. Um, and I think that's essentially what happened. Like, so at some point, the He Who Remains character, who I don't think becomes He Who Remains, like, I think when he first did what I'm describing, he was just another Kang variant.
mhm,
And so he takes the timelines that he desires from what I think are several different timelines, but for the purposes of trying to keep it simple, which none of this is simple, but let's just say the 616 timeline. He goes there, then he goes all the way back in time and essentially like resets it and just creates this perfect loop of like this is how it goes. And I think that Eliath, what he really did with Eliath, that's how he was able to isolate it and keep the Citadel away from all the other variants of Kang. I don't necessarily understand exactly how he did it, but I think when he says, I harnessed the power of Eliath and I ended the multiversal war, I don't think he destroyed all the other Kang variants. I think he just ended the war. You know what I mean? And then like took over the Citadel essentially.
so
Yeah.
my mind goes so, like, when you put it right there, it made more sense from what because I'm not chomping at the bits ready to go back at you.
Yeah,
Ready to
yeah, yeah.
come
No, no,
but
no.
no,
Look, it's a
yeah,
conversation, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, like,
but
I don't know, but
but here's where I kinda separate from the dog, man, if you will. if we look at, I think He Who Remains actually did everything he said he did.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I I trust his word. Like he looks like a trustworthy dude. Like I don't fuck with you.
Yeah,
But
I
no, I
mean,
know. Like
yeah, he looks
I think he did everything he said he did. And those statues. So here's the thing: like those statues that we see, like the one that's knocked down, I think that was He Who Remains. Like the and he was exiled from the Council of Kings because he had beef with them because he didn't appreciate like the multiverse coming to an end, and that's what we're seeing here is that everything is coming to a head. So all of the Council of Kings plans are making pretty much the incursions go down, making they don't care, like it's just falling apart, and they're like,
yeah.
we're going to survive. We're outside of town. We're good here. Where I think here's where I believe He Remains is telling the truth because in order to end that multiversal war, I don't think he can go through one by one and kill them. I
Yeah.
think he has to use the power of Goliath to erase their existence, to erase them
Yes.
from being alive.
But what does that look like to you? So, okay, so let's say that's the case. And he erases all the other kings. You're essentially talking about kind of like pruning, right?
And it comes in the form of, to me, harnessing. I don't think Elias was the one doing it. I really think it's to the case of if this shit's happening outside of time, he's got that power of Elias coming from his hands. Like, dude, can't he remains looks very docile or whatever, doesn't look like a threat.
Yeah.
But like in the heat of the battle, like people I feel like, Doctor Strange harnesses the power of other beings
Yeah.
in Multiverse of Madness. I feel like it's the same type of thing to where this He Who Remains is like erasing timelines similar to what um we didn't see how he erased timelines, King the Conqueror. We didn't see how he erased timelines in Ant-Man. But
Right. I
apparently
know.
he did.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, right. But
Yeah.
apparently he is on ground erasing. That's what it looks like. He's on ground erasing time from what we can tell. Shit.
Yeah.
Could have
Yeah.
spent like an extra 2 minutes on that. But
Yeah. It would have helped for
it
sure.
would have fucking helped.
Victoria
But
Alonso didn't have the
god damn.
shots. You know what I mean? She didn't have the shots for it. So,
But straight past, straight past. Either way, though. But like I feel like that's how I feel like that's what he did. And the whole thing is like when it come back, I feel like it could. I don't know how cheesy it's gonna go, but I feel like it could kind of come down to Ravana. Like
mm,
possibly Ravana
yeah.
is at odds with them, or what I mean, Ravana kind of comes into play there, and that's what I said. Just to circle it back around, it's just to me that's where it makes that's where it kind of makes sense to where we're looking at this one timeline. I think possibly this Kang, like He Remains, I mean, prevented everything from being destroyed. So it's possible that it happened before that everything was destroyed. And kind of where
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the next level of this, but like when it comes to the Celestials, and I've
Yeah.
been like I dug into like Defenders Beyond and thinking of like the firmament, like learning about that. And the Celestials really being the one, they seem to be the ones, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that piece things back together. Like
Yeah.
that bring things after each firmament. They're the ones kind of
Yeah,
construct
they're almost like, I don't know, like gardeners of like Eden in some way, right? Like,
exactly.
yeah, well,
Uh,
I totally, dude, I want to go, I'll go as deep as you want to go, but
so
let me
like
just say a couple things about He Who Remains. If, or
okay.
unless you want to, do you need to finish this
Well,
thought?
well, yeah, I was gonna finish this thought because it's
Okay.
like he was able to prevent the ending of everything, and I don't think the Celestials want the ending of everything to happen again. Like I think they're kind of using this, and it's possible that in this iteration they're using Kang as a way to kind of keep this thing afloat.
Hmm,
And the kind of hot take here is that Eliath himself could be some type of a celestial,
that's
could be
true.
some type
Yeah.
of celestial
He
power
could be a firmament.
that
He could be the
yeah,
first firmament. Yeah. I don't
he's
know.
something himself that keeps this thing like in check, if you will.
Right.
But going to your hero
Okay.
main
So
thoughts.
let me just say why I think, despite looking like a very trustworthy individual, I actually don't believe He Who Remains. So there's a couple of main things. Number one, the video we see of the explanation of the multiversal war and the Time Lords, we know it's not true
Mhm,
because the Time Lords aren't real. They're robots.
mhm,
They're a fake. They're like a fake idol created to, make all the TVA members just. That's what it is. The Time Lords, right? They're literally robots. Probably similar to some of the robots we saw in the Kang variants in that scene. Okay, so we know it's at least partially a lie. Also, if you look at there's like a little thing in the bottom of like I think it's like the left hand corner that says this video is approved and created by essentially like a propaganda
Right.
um yeah, like a thing. Okay, so I think that's obviously that video is created by He Who Remains. Like we have to sort of follow the logic through and be like, well, this version of the TVA is all created by that one singular king, right? On top of that, when Loki and Sylvie go to the Citadel, Miss Minutes, she tries one last time to get them to turn around. Okay. And to me, and by the way, when she fails, she goes to Ravana
Hmm.
and gets Ravana to go do whatever Ravana's doing. So to me, what that means is that He Who Remains didn't want those Lokis there. He maybe knew it would happen, but he didn't actually want them there. And he had a backup plan for what would happen if they actually got there. Because she goes and tells Ravana and whatever
I'm on
Ravana's doing is,
spot with you there. Like that's
yeah.
I'm 100% with you on there.
So that to me implies that this dude is at least not giving us the full story and possibly lying completely. Now, I don't think he's lying completely because I think, first of all, that would be so stupid. Like,
Right.
we get so much information out of that as fans.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, he's hiding, he's like being purposely vague. He's almost like being like James Gunn about certain things that are going on, even what happened with the multiversal war and Alliance. Because you think about it, he says, I ended the multiversal war. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I created the sacred time. What does that mean? And even in the propaganda message, there's all these like timelines, and then the Time Lords raise their hands and stuff like flows from them. And so I don't know, man. Like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, nah, something's up. Like he's not it if it's just presented as he's this altruistic, I'm just watching over the multiverse and everything's all good, then why does he have this backup plan? Why is he lying to the people in the TVA? You know what I mean? Like
So
it's
my
weird.
my thoughts on that are is just I'm with you all the way up to like he doesn't want the Lokis to come there. Like I think if he can continue to let the timeline go, he lets it go. But the Loki's getting there, coming to kill him. I feel like he knows one day it was coming because he
Mhm.
had it scripted.
Yes.
And Miss Minutes, like you said, was his last try to get everybody, you know, to get them on their way or what have you. Because as soon as you get them in a different universe, you can prune them, I guess. But
Yeah.
I just think he's telling the truth. Like I just don't think at that point, especially explaining that he knows what's coming, like he knows that they're going to come there, and he pretty much knows that he's going to die. I think that gives him more reason to tell the 100% truth. Like I feel like that kind of gives him more reason to say, you know what, like here's all out truth, and here's what's going to happen when you kill me. And so far, everything that he said would happen has happened.
That's true. Yes.
So like Loki season 2 would be huge because I do have kind of a cog in the theory of like the spoiler warning for Loki, but if that subversion of Sylvie is there running, from the Citadel,
Yeah.
when does she get knocked? Like, when does the Council of Kings come knocking? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Well, can they is the question.
can they at a certain point?
Because
So,
here's the thing. Yeah. So in the theory that I have is essentially like Eliath is still there. It's not like Loki and Sylvie destroy Eliath, unless I'm reading that scene wrong. Because I know they like defeat Eliath or whatever, but I still think that Eliath is there, and that whatever that place is, which I think we're gonna learn is like the last battle world,
mm,
like that is how you get to the Citadel at the end of time, or perhaps with a multiversal engine, because it seemed like Kang was maybe gonna try to get there himself. Um, so to me, I think Sylvie takes over that position. And then what happens is like she's doing the best she can at like watching over the multiverse. And because there's these claims that she will be hiding out in time,
mm,
right? So because like at one point in Loki season 2, we're supposed to just see her at a McDonald's and she's just hiding in time. Um, But to me, like, all that would imply is that maybe she does that for a while and she tries to do that because in order to get to the ending that we think we're going to get, she has to eventually decide to go back to that citadel and do the best she can to run the TVA and try to prevent Kang from doing what he wants to do, right? But I think that that will likely just be from the multiverse that springs out of 616. And at the end of the day, now that's branching out to the point where it's going in my opinion, it's going into the other multiverse as well, which is the
Okay.
crashes that we're starting to see. I think that I don't know if that'll be like really where the incursions come from, but I think that like when we saw the post-credit scene in Ant-Man and Quantum Mania, they say like they'll destroy everything we've built. And you look out and you just see all these timelines weaving into each other, but they're not crashing. They're like weaving. You know
Well,
what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, and I here's my thoughts on that is that those timelines to me are pretty much like I've kind of put you got your fabric of reality. Kind of think of it like a each strand of reality, like I talk about dimensions.
Yeah.
To get real sweaty and like my real blinker thoughts. It's like when you're looking at the timeline and it kind of looks like just threads, like all kind of just looking at one.
You
I
think
think
those are
those are
dimensions?
I think those are dimensions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
I like
think
that.
I think those are dimensions. And I think each dimension has a responsibility, and I think people are able to tap into each dimension and able to do other things, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, with the chaos dimension shapes reality. To me, that's one of the most important dimensions there because it shapes the rules of reality of what brings these timelines together. Another one, the Nord dimension, very important because I think that's the one that separates dimensions, but two kind of has the power to separate timelines.
Hmm.
So my whole thought on incursions is that when these timelines, when you have these, of course, like each dimension kind of flows off. So like these dimensions, these cosmic energy currents that kind of flow and make the timeline. That when they branch off, you will have kind of different, it'll be different signature, which is like why certain infinity stones from certain dimensions don't have the same properties to the T. So
Sure.
long story short, when the incursions happen, so basically I don't think necessarily the timelines hitting each other make it happen, but in certain instances, like where Doctor Strange and Wanda went over to the 838, them bringing their cosmic energy over to tap
Hmm.
into their power
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
causes like what I think hard light is what separate I think hard light separates these dimensions and what causes those kind of borders to break. And we kind of see it. Like if you think about what if when um when Ultron was punching the Watcher through the multiverse,
Yeah.
you see him get punched out of the void, and it looks like he's between lines of hard light.
Sure.
And he looks like that because it just looks just like fucking hard. So then he gets punched through
Hmm.
it and he goes right into another universe. And like you kind of see just a hole and a rip through that universe. So that's where I feel as if kind of just getting real sweaty and blinker thoughts. Like that's how all of those things are played together and kind of brought apart here. Now where
Yeah,
that
I
comes
can
in,
see that.
now where that comes into the Council of Kings, and to bring it back because that thought kind of got in the way of my first thought to get back to what you were saying there. But when it comes to like that post credit scene in Ant Man, I feel like it's out of time. Like I feel like that post credit scene in Ant Man, well, of course it's out of time, but I feel like
Right.
is what we're going to see go down before Kang Dynasty. Like literally, like
But so
they
here's
see
my
that and
question
just
on
they go
that.
ham
So I'm with you, but here's the question then. Then why are they referencing the events of the film as though it's shocking? And
because
then who
it
but if
just
it's
happened.
out of time and they're Kang
Mhm.
and they should know all of time.
I don't
So
think they do yet. See, I don't think
but dude, that's literally a mortis though. Do you know what I
so.
mean? Like that's a mortis and that's I struggle to think I struggle to make sense of the scene in the context of they already know everything because number one, why would they get all the council of the Kang? Like, why would they bring everybody there
Mhm.
and make such a big deal of the exile dying and the fact that they're beginning to touch the multiverse? If they're Kang and they've been throughout all of time and seen it all, right? Then why are they doing what they're doing in the post credit scene? You know?
So my thought is before like Kang dying is the last straw. Like shit's been getting fucked up already. But then
Okay.
Kang dying is the last straw. For
Right.
example, with Ramatut being in that body, I feel like they need to do something to make Ramatut get fucked up by Moon Knight. Like,
Right.
I've kinda been on this kinda thought of like, even in the Kang the Conqueror, Only Myself Left to Conquer comics where, Ravonna is a Moon Knight variant. They could even do some shit like that, but probably not. Either way, like, make Moon Knight fuck up Ramatut.
Yeah.
That type of thing and fuck up Ramatut's plans. You know what I mean? Like, have these different Kangs so where we could see Immortus pop up in a different movie, where we could see the Centurion pop up in a different movie, to have those plans get effed up, and now they're regrouping to where, damn, now this variant of Kang the Conqueror is dead. Now we really have to meet. Because like if they've gone through a loop once, I think that can make sense. But also, I think the thing that throws the loop in their plans is Ravonna in that mission that He Who Remains gave. That's why I feel like it's just one time because He Who Remains, I feel like would know the moves of what like of how they're moving, like of
Yeah.
how they're gonna be moving. He knows it. So maybe he gives it to all right, fuck it up here, fuck it up at this point. You know what I mean? Like
Right. But
do
then
these
again,
things
but
to mess up their plans and break
yeah,
it
but
down
then
for
why
easy.
would he but so then he if that's the case, then he does know they're still out there. Do you know what I mean? Like he had like so
He knows they're
this
coming back. He doesn't know they're still out there.
but what
He
does
knows
that
they're coming
mean
back.
coming back to a person that exists that sees time differently? Do you know what I mean? Like what does that even mean coming back? Because
It means that he knows that they're gonna discover each other all over again, and that
yeah,
the war that he tried to prevent is just gonna happen all over again. But this time he's making like he's put changes into it to try to stack the odds up to where the entire universe doesn't get destroyed. But I think the entire universe is still going to get destroyed. Like I don't think that
oh
they're going
yeah,
to
of
stop the
course.
universe from getting destroyed. But I think that that's his goal. Is like making changes. That's the only way I feel like I've been able to make sense
So okay, so
of
let me
that.
just from let me try to steel man your side, okay?
Okay.
So what you think is essentially he who remains it's he has the complete multiverse isolated down, but he knows as soon as he uh doesn't have control that
Mhm.
essentially instantly you'll have the Council of Kings back. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It works like that. I guess it works like that because time is happening all at one time where he's
Right,
like,
right. So
so yeah,
because it's all like right, so because it's all outside of time, he knows that essentially as soon as he's done,
as soon as you
um, yeah,
as soon as
it's
they
gonna
prune out, as soon as these multiverses go out, as soon as they go past that incursion point,
mhm.
whatever they called it, that red line point for
Yeah,
Loki, as
mhm,
soon as that
yeah.
happens, they're gonna come.
So then I guess the my next question then would be, and I'm that's very possible. Like that could be exactly what's going on then. So then my next question would be if that happens, and then we instantly have the council, and you have all of these Kangs that are all in communication with each other, seemingly like, controlling all of the multiverse,
Mm.
then how would anything ever happen again that they wouldn't know about or be prepared for, particularly Immortus?
Ravana.
But
Ravana is the
okay, so
key.
just help me explain it. That
So
help me
Ravana,
understand.
I feel like Ravana's key, Ravana's mission is in this next life, in this next universe when it comes because I'm still kind of thrown off with what happens with Loki. Like if he goes into another but in this next phase here, like after my death, go find a reborn version of me.
Okay.
So one, I think he's doing. I think Ravana did two, like a few things as far as making these changes in the timeline, like bringing in Namor, like bringing in Shang Chi, like bringing in our new event, doing those things, Miss Marvel, and then also she's searching for the variant of He Who Remains. That variant of He Who Remains gets the information needed to help defeat the Council of Kings and to help really keep the multiverse probably go down to one single universe.
So he just wants to do it all over again.
He wants to do it all over again.
But then,
That
like, okay, so here's my problem with that is
mhm,
that essentially means we're just stuck in a loop, like a loop within a loop. And
and I
then
think that's what he wants.
yeah, but so here's my only problem with that. That's boring as fuck. That's not going to be a compelling Secret Wars. If we're going through Secret Wars and there are versions of Kang that know exactly how it's all going to go and how it's all just the same and there's nothing compelling about that. there has to be a break in the loop in order to basically make it so that this time's different. This is a big time stakes, and then the Beyonder Kang. So like Beyonder Kang, in my opinion, has never happened before
Mm.
in all the loops.
I think that's one
Um,
of the changes too.
because if it did, he would just be who remains. If you have the power of the Beyonder, there is no problem. Like there's zero
Yeah.
problems. You know what I mean? So I guess for me, like I'm kind of like reverse engineering of like how they're going to get to the point that they're at. And also like the other side is that Alex Perez, I don't think he's perfect,
Mm.
but he has good sources. So like if he's hearing that it was a loop, now the loop's broken, like I believe him. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like in my mind, I'm like, well, how could it have happened? Like, how could that loop have broken? And I think the only explanation that I can come up with is that there was an isolated part of the loop. So essentially, like he who remains just he understands exactly what you're saying, that as soon
Mhm.
as he goes, as soon as the multiverse breaks out, then you're going to have chaos. You're going to go right back to where you were, all kinds of variants of himself. But I think what he realized was if he could isolate a timeline and take it away from the purview of all of his other variants, and he could craft that timeline exactly the way he wanted to. Because I don't think he just has the script. I think he manipulated it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which I think is kind of almost the same thing if you think about the TVA. If anything goes off course, they're going to prune it. You know what I mean? So
Prune it
like
and
they
prune it
have
and
a
prune it until you get your
yeah.
shit.
So they have a direct path that they want it all to go on. The Avengers were she even says it. She's like, the Avengers were supposed to do that. You weren't supposed to do what you did. So in my mind, it just feels like what the He Who Remains plan was to have a perfectly crafted universe that if he was destroyed and eliminated, then the beings from that universe would interact with the rest of the multiverse in a
Mm.
way that his own variants would not be able to account for, therefore sort of plunging them into chaos and then perhaps giving him the opportunity to come back again and fix it. But I think the big difference is the Beyonder Kang. I don't think that was supposed to happen. I don't think he accounted for it. And now you're going to have a variant of Kang with the power of the Beyonder, which is trouble for everybody.
And we're
Do
thinking
you know what I
that's
mean?
and we're on the same line of thinking that's gonna be the Kang the Conqueror that we met in Ant-Man, right?
I
Or
believe, yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
believe
I'm
that's
thinking that's
he
true.
goes into the multiversal crystal, and I
Mhm.
think he's going to then be sucked into the beyond, and then maybe either via his suit or just some
I think he
whatever.
conquers himself. I don't know, like, I kinda went through this whole thoughts of m only myself left to conquer when he goes into the multiversal engine, like, when he gets sucked into the multiversal engine and all of these possibilities pop up,
Hmm.
he conquers himself to become one.
Sure.
Like, so much real focus and, like, nobody could probably ever really, like, pull that shit off to really only have one possibility,
Yeah.
and that power allows him to harness the power of the multiversal engine and become the beyond. That's my, like,
Mm,
kinda high thought tangent there. But no,
yeah.
back to kinda explain, like I wanna explain, like, where that kinda my theory kinda leads to for Secret Wars. Because, yeah, that kinda if Kang's whole motivation is bringing it back on a loop, my thing is our Avengers aren't gonna want that. Like, the people
Mhm.
that we want so, like, by that point, we would have met the multiverse. By that point, everybody would have known the multiverse would exists. So, our Avengers won't be cool with allowing trillions of people to die in other
Yeah,
universes
but what
just so
say
long
do
as it
they
exists.
have what say do they have in it?
At this point, I think they're in battle, honestly, like, like, to just defeat this can
Well, I think the Council of Kangs currently could just decimate the Avengers. I don't
mm,
think the Avengers stand a chance even against the Council of Kangs
yeah,
currently. Um, Maybe Doctor Strange, which is a whole nother thing because there's like a lot of talk of like Doctor Strange is the actual cause of the incursions and like it's gonna come down to like Strange versus Kang essentially,
mhm.
which is a whole nother crazy rabbit hole. But like I think that of course the Avengers wouldn't want trillions of lives to be lost and for like the loop to, continue. But I don't know that they have any capacity to do anything about it.
Except so this is where, again, He Who Remains comes into play.
Well,
Because
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I agree with you
Yeah,
there.
so
I,
I
I
think He
agree.
Remains either it's setting. That's why I feel like he gave Kang the Conqueror the juice to split apart. Like the files that, like I feel like if this is the case, and shit, you know how you got like one theory that goes one way and another theory that goes one way.
Yeah.
I have this like either he remains is going to come back as Iron Lad, or it's going to be revealed that he who remains was actually Kang the Conqueror. Like
Right. Or I mean, look, at this point he could literally be anybody of a Kang variety, right? But I actually think he's going to be Victor Timely.
you think so?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Because it kind of makes sense to do that credit scene in the movie. You know, and
I
if you
don't.
look at
But would they give away them finding that variant of He Who Remains like that? Like I
well,
view
it's
that
gonna
as like
depend.
I
Yeah,
view
it's
that
gonna
as just
depend on
checking
what
it
they
off the
do.
mark. Like I view
A
that as
little
just
too
like
much.
yeah, I view that as just like they're gonna go to different variants and they're gonna see these different variants in search of He Who Remains. If we
But
find them,
yeah.
I don't
Well,
think we do it.
let me ask you this. Do you think, because in the comics, Victor Timely is a Kang variant that gets trapped in a specific time.
Mhm.
That's, and he spends some time there and, digs in, sets up roots, has Chronopolis and all that.
Okay.
Do you think that's what's going on with that Victor Timely? Or do you think Victor Timely in the MCU is like actually in the 1920s or whatever it is? And like that's Kang.
I think he's actually in the 1920s doing his work in
Yeah,
his
me
time.
too.
Um,
Right.
like I don't like just how like how Ramatet would be in his timeline doing his work. Like I feel like they're in their timelines doing their work
Well, you know
that
what's
leads them to the
funny,
plan.
dude? You know what's funny about that is that I don't even know why Ramatut and this Centurion are there because, like, are they a part of the Council of Kings in some of the stories? Yes, but were the same.
Mm,
So, like, Ramatut is just the name he gives himself when he like in the original version of Kang. Ramatut is just a version of him. Then he gets his ass kicked by the Fantastic Four. He goes back into the time stream, and then that same person becomes the Centurion. And then you know what I mean? He becomes
mhm.
the Centurion, and then he eventually becomes Immortus. So that's Kang Prime. So I don't even understand why there are separate versions that are distinct for the council of like Ramatut. Like, what is that? Is that a version of Kang that when he was Ramatut, he actually dominated them because the Fantastic Four weren't around and he conquers that timeline? And so he's like, yo, this is the Ramatut timeline
So you're
where
thinking like
I want it.
Ramatut went on, it's fucking 2025 and Ramatut's on top of shit. Like
Ramatut's the man. It's all about
that's interesting.
Ramatut. You know what I
That's an interesting
mean?
thought. Like I mean, because they are taking on when you're a robot, you're taking on that life. You're not taking on like a persona where you're putting on the like that's fucking you. You're Ramatut.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. My just initial thought is like they all have different roles, possibly at different points in time in their universes, to where like they have to do this shit to make this shit go right, and if they don't, for example, if Moon Knight fucks up Ramatut and, Ramatut has to now be a robot with it, if Moon Knight fucks up Ramatut and he has to leave without doing what doing what he has to his timeline,
Yeah.
then that leads to their plans falling down. So I feel as if Ramatut kind of felt like a little possibly defeat. Like I don't feel like the Scarlet Centurion kind of gave off the vibes that he was beat or anything or kind of put to the side. But just my mind is that
Yeah.
they all possibly kind of got sent back to their shit and now they're kind of having to regroup because now
But I
this Kang
guess
is
for
there.
me to make sense of why they would assume that identity and become that permanently, right? And
Mm.
this probably has to just do with uh a bunch of different timelines. So I think there has to be a version of Ramatut that like actually won and that's a branch off of all the other timelines where maybe Moon Knight wins or something like that, right? But like I feel like that would play and make sense. And in in the actual version of Kang, I believe they're all just the same. And part of the craziness is they don't want to destroy each other in case they destroy the prime timeline, which leads to themselves not existing. Even though that's not causally how the time travel works, they're still afraid of it for some reason. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird as hell, man. But I just feel like if like to me, that scene and the fact that they're like, this was not supposed to happen, and they call the whole council. Like, to me, you call all the Kangs, and the one dude was shocked, right? He was like
Mhm.
shocked. He was like, "What?" Like, and we see Mr. Griffin, right? There's a Mr. Griffin dude. There's the scroll version of Kang. There's all kinds of versions of Kang there. Why are you calling all of them forward? Like, what would be bad enough to need that many Kangs? Like, how many Kangs does it take to fix up a timeline? Do you know what I
That's
mean?
yeah, that's the thing. I think now that's why they're bringing them all in because the plans are so fucked up that like all of these timelines are at stake. So like at this point, like when they're again, if we're thinking like in my mind, I'm thinking like this is after phase five. Like that scene is probably after phase five in my mind. Like if we're gonna be watching movies through phase 5 and 6 and we could see some things that lead up to the Council of Kings having that meeting. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Well,
So
it's possible that that's the case, but that would then just mean that the events of Ant-Man are also after Phase 5, which is totally possible.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's totally possible too. Is that it's just we're seeing that, it was just their little way of just introducing us to Kang without making it have any ramifications
Yeah. Mhm.
on the actual MCU, um, which is probably a problem. but
A little bit.
so
Yeah, it's a weird look, it's a tough one, man, and that's the other side of it too is, how are they going to establish the council as a unified threat? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's just weird, but I think that is what they're gonna do is essentially Loki season 2 particularly is gonna be all about, chasing down and changing all these different, versions of Kang and fighting against the council. Let me ask you this, do you think Victor Timely was there in that meeting?
Yeah,
In the post you
I
do?
think I think he's in the council.
You think he's in
I
the
think it's like
council?
yeah, I think he's in the council. So
Mm.
are you thinking that all the Kangs are in the council?
Well, no, I think that all the Kangs from that multiverse are, but
Okay, yeah,
that's
because
not
you're
what
on two
Victor
different
Timely
multiverses.
is.
It's
Yeah.
Victor Timely. So you're thinking we got one council of Kangs running, and then another timeline where you got Kangs that aren't in the council.
Yeah, so Victor Timely is either he who remains himself in his original form from the sacred timeline, or he's a variant of Kang that branches off of the sacred timeline, therefore not actually like accounted for by the council.
Is there anything? Let me ask you. Is there anything out there on the Iron Lad? Like anything at all?
Nah,
Nothing else.
unfortunately
Yeah.
not. Although there is buzz that he will be in Kang Dynasty. But unfortunately, every cool thing I've heard that I've like checked on is a
Mhm.
no. Now, here's the other side. I don't know because sometimes like I wonder if Daniel is fucking Kevin Feige, right?
Mhm.
So maybe he's just not ready to tell little old me yet. But no, nothing for sure on but I want him. I think he's
Because I think
important.
that's my other option to be He Who Remains is Iron Lad.
Sure. I
Um,
could see it.
that's because again, I feel as if He Who Remains used Ravana to set himself up to be able to like come back and to be able to help save the multiverse.
Yeah.
Now, I think where the problem will come down to is that whether it's Beyonder Kang or whether it's Iron Lad Kang, they're going to come at odds because again, these other multiversal, the multiversal Avengers, if you will, or the whole squad that just fought to save the multiverse, isn't going to want to see it go down to a single timeline.
Right.
Um,
Just because it
s-
means destruction and death and
yeah,
stuff.
and I think
Mhm.
that's where even in the comics, they allow like they get to the point to where it's like this shit's about to happen, right? But Thanos and Namor go around and continue doing the work.
Yeah. And
In that
Doctor
time.
Strange too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange
Yeah,
is destroying Earths
yeah.
all
So
throughout the multiverse to try to stop incursions. So
so yeah, like I think like that's possibly like that whole thought of let's just let this shit in is going to like come into play at the end of it. Like they're going to try to defeat this version of Kang,
mm.
and they may they may defeat Kang and like have that happen. But then that's how we like go beyond Secret Wars because I think once it comes to an end, my dream and hope and my prayer and what I would put my money on and what I would love to happen is Doctor Doom saves the day.
Oh
Um,
hell yeah, of
and,
course.
and
We
create
all we
and
all
creates battle world.
I know we
It
all
creates
want that.
battle world.
Dude, so
Doctor Doom, Wanda, and I I want to put Doctor Strange with them, just
Yeah,
so they
and
can make
even,
it look.
it could be
Uh,
the Demiurge too. There could be a lot
yeah.
operating there. But let me ask you this then, because there's a lot of buzz, dude, that Secret Wars is going to be 2 movies. I have a video. I thought I was going to be able to drop it today, but it's not quite ready. So I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking and get it out tomorrow.
All right.
But I believe, remember when last year, San Diego Comic Con, Secret Wars is announced. Amazing stream, amazing
Mm-hmm.
moment, for the Nerd Avengers. It was just dope as hell. But remember that there was a trademark for Avengers Eternity Wars,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I remember at the time speculating that, oh, well, Feige probably just being the genius that he is, he just grabbed up a name, a trademark for something that's 10 years away from Secret Wars. That's going to be the next one. But really, dude, that's a stupid idea. He can't do that. Like, he can do that, but why would you do that while you're grabbing up all this other stuff? And then the fact that Nomad was something that they grabbed up at
Mm-hmm.
that time, and now there's all this buzz about the actual Nomad project. I'm telling you right now that I think Secret Wars is part 2 and Eternity Wars is part 3. And that actually might even be the whole reason that the Marvel Studios spoiler subreddit got snapped, because that was some shit that they were on in their last big info dump
Mm-hmm.
before it all blew
Went
up,
to hell.
right? Yeah. So I'm sitting here, man, and I'm just thinking, I think Secret Wars is the middle chapter, and I think you have a whole nother movie. There'll be a resolution to Secret Wars, but I think there'll be another thing going on that takes us into Eternity Wars. And I guess I just wonder, do you have any thoughts on what that could be? Like, what do
So
you think?
so yeah, I thought about that because I figured it would come up, and to be honest, like every time you brought it up in stream, I like, fuck. So like I had to take some time to think about that, and I think Battle World wedges like a phase. Like I don't know, I don't think we'll go right into Eternity Wars right after um
Mm,
Secret Wars, because I do think Doctor Doom, like if we're doing Battle World, like if that Battle World stuff is real, like if we're gonna do a phase in Battle World, I think that that's how we get Doctor Doom, and we go through that phase, and it'll be a slow burn of figuring out what he did in order to be able to create Battle World. So like
that could
that.
be. I mean, Doctor Doom is going to be in the post, like the 616
Mhm.
Doom is going to be in a post credit scene for the Fantastic Four movie. At least that's the
Okay,
current plan. But the Doctor Doom from the, like, Jessica Alba Johns, I think he's gonna be a part of Secret Wars.
but see, and I would like for the 616 Doom to be the one to do this,
Sure, me
um,
too.
because I want him to connect with Wanda.
Yeah,
Because to me, again, going back to the cosmic energy shit and like the whole timeline, in order to make that work, you need to be able to shape reality. And to me,
yes.
Wanda is that one that's able to shape reality. So Doctor Doom can go through. I once had a thought that it would be Secret Wars would end because Doctor Doom and Wanda would go meet up with He Remains, and He Remains would grant them the power. Or He Remains wanted Doctor Doom and Wanda to get it because they could harness the power of light. That was like all. But to me, it has to. I think Doctor Doom and Wanda coming together to solve it brings that together. Now I'm more worried about that theory because of hearing Wanda's more involved. I don't know. Agatha Coven of Chaos, who really knows? But there's one point where
Yeah,
she
it's
was
hard to
supposed to be
say,
more.
right?
Yeah, who there's one point where she was supposed to be more involved with that, um, or at least show up in it.
Yeah,
But I just really like the idea of Doctor Doom and Wanda being together, figuring this shit out, and solving it at the end. And Wanda's buy-in to do it is to have her kids, to bring mutants in,
yeah.
and to piece it together. Um, and again, like that's how you kind of streamline that shit. But to get to your question with Eternity Wars, damn, that was a long way to get to your question.
No, it's
Eternity
all good.
Wars.
It's all good.
To get to the end of that shit, after Doctor Doom is like defeated, or they probably try to set shit right. I think them setting shit right makes things like crash. If you know what I mean, like I don't think that
Mm,
they will have the ability to build the universe the way they want to. Because in my mind, when I thought about like this question, I thought about the Celestials being the ones
mm,
that would piece it together instead of like it being
yeah.
Eternity Wars for Eternity, which
Well, there's
Eternity could
Celestial
be a
Wars.
Celestial.
Well, Celestial Wars is literally another one of the trademarks.
Yeah, and so,
So,
and Eternity could be a Celestial. Like to me in
yeah.
MCU,
Well,
Eternity could be a.
Dude, well, it's so crazy because in the Eternity Wars run, which actually involved a
Mhm,
lot of the characters from that Defenders book that you're talking about, it is the Builder, so another version of Reed, and the First Firmament working together to destroy the Bleed, which is what you were talking about as far as the space in between
mhm,
the universes. That's the Bleed. He destroys it, and so then it's all one universe again.
mhm.
So you literally have the multiverse. It's almost like just like when you know the tablecloth thing where you take like the
Yeah, you
tablecloth
pull it
off.
out and pull.
Yeah, but it's just like boom, they just ripped it out, and then it's like all this shit's all together. But if it's already battle world, seemingly there is nothing else. You know, just like fragments of other universes, maybe. So it's like interesting as to what could that actually be. But I think maybe like because there's two types of thought process that I use with this. Number one is like just from the canon perspective, what would it be? But I think, and especially because it's Feige, the other side that's very useful to think about is how, from a producing perspective, is he going to do this? Because this is the guy that snapped away half of the life in the Marvel universe and then literally had them do a 5-year gap. I remember when I watched Endgame for the first time, I was mind blown that they were that ballsy to
Mhm.
literally be like, "Oh yeah, no, half the
5
universe has
years.
been gone for 5 years."
Yeah, that was
That's
wild.
just bold. So like I think that this is that guy. So I think that he has the ability and I think they have the desire to do that even crazier. And I think we all know what's going to happen from Dynasty into Secret Wars, which is essentially the
Mhm.
multiverse collapsing and then the creation of Battle World. But what happens from Secret Wars to Eternity Wars? What does that look like?
So
What's
at
that gonna be?
on the other end of Eternity Wars, because there was what, again, the Celestial War kinda put out there too. But
Yes,
on the
yes.
other end of Eternity Wars, do you think we're getting back to our streamlined, like,
Yeah.
regular world type of MCU shit? Like,
Yep.
'cause that's where my
Yeah.
head is, like, after that, like, I think we're getting, everybody's recasted, like, nobody. I'm trying to think who could possibly be, like, the life raft folks, like, who survived, like, in the kinda do something similar to that. Um, but my
This is
thought is
all in
just
that
like,
info dump, dude. This is all
yeah.
why this is why Feige got
So
those
he's
fuckers, bro.
okay.
Because he was like, "Bro, they know." Because here's the thing, they talk about that and they talk about all these plans and actually the plan according to that is not that they're gonna recast actually.
Okay.
They will phase out a lot of the characters that have been thus far, like in the whole thing,
Mhm.
and bring in a bunch more newness and like just go with new people. But then at the same time, they'll launch the Ultimates universe with a new Captain America, a new Iron Man, a new Thor, and that. So that'll be like our reboot while the MCU is still going. And I think they're going to kind of test out some stuff with the Ultimates and be like, how do people feel about this? What is this?
So are
And
we
then
thinking that's
maybe
like
go off
a
that.
so we thinking it'll be like a multiverse, so the multiverse will be reborn with 2
It'll be
universes
back,
type
yeah.
shit?
Mhm.
Okay.
Which, by the way, Feige is doing what with Jonathan Hickman this year?
Yeah.
Bringing back the
Bringing back the
Ultimates
multi yeah,
universe, and what did he say? He said this is basically a
5 years.
5-year right. So it all lines up if you think about it.
So my question here, we
Mhm.
spent an hour and a half, I mean, an hour and some change,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah.
still like, bro, I still got, like
Oh, me too. I
I
still
still
don't
got some
know.
shit,
I'm not
like,
sure. I'm not sure.
I still g is this what's wrong with the multiverse? Like, I know we don't wanna go down that rabbit hole, but,
Yeah.
like, this whole type of
Mhm.
trying to figure shit out, like, we spend hella time on this, like, but
Can
when it
can
comes
I
to
tell you what I think? Look,
yeah,
here's what it is, bro. It's not necess it's hard to explain, okay? Just like all this shit, it's hard to
yeah,
explain because you and I were talking before we went live, and the multiverse is not the problem with the MCU currently. But, and it's a big but, maybe the fact that Feige has been having these same conversations we've been having in his own head in front of whiteboards for the past 3 years instead of actually checking in on fucking She-Hulk,
mhm,
maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not so much that, like, what they're doing in the multiverse is too weird. It's the fact that, like, he's trying to figure out how to actually do all of this, and there was a line that one of the producers which you know what I just thought of, bro? This just popped into my head. Follow me on this.
what's it
You know who Steven Broussard is?
the name rings a bell, I'm not
Right.
hip.
Why does it ring a bell? Because he's been mentioned in a bunch of articles recently as a
Okay,
producer, and he's talking about the multiverse. I wonder if Feige low key was trying to position another person instead of Victoria, and he already knew that he wanted to like have another confidant, have another ambassador for the brand that was talking about the multiverse. Because for whatever reason, this Steven Broussard guy jumps on the scene like a month or two ago, and just like his quotes are very prevalent. He's been talking a lot about the multiverse.
Mhm.
And one of the things he said was, we don't necessarily have it all figured out scientifically correct, but we have it figured out from the perspective of what our stories need. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. Like, and that's probably the right move. So maybe like they at some point had all these conversations that we had, and then they said, well, but how important is it that it works perfectly? Because even the science in Endgame is a little wacky.
Exactly.
Like, we just need it to be good and palatable, you know?
And it hasn't been. That's a
Well,
fucking shit.
I mean, I think most of the narratives have been palatable.
Yeah.
I think what they're setting up is completely confusing. Do you know what I mean?
Do you
Thus
think
the
it's
hour that we've just had.
yeah, I mean, part of it, do you think, like, we have our shit that's going on with the Thunderbolts and what's happening on Earth? Like, do you think, like, that shit is, like, they're trying to play in too many fucking fields instead of just focusing on
Yeah,
how can we tie
definitely.
in this one story? So, like, maybe it's too much of a sub story for this big multiverse shit.
Absolutely. But I think also at the same time, like if you're if you're going to make Kang Dynasty, it's a weird strategy to make Kang Dynasty, and this is probably why they announced Secret Wars with Kang Dynasty,
Mhm.
because they need you to know the other shoe's going to drop. But it's really weird to build a multiversal saga and then have the first part of that, maybe, two, maybe three movie arc take place with 616 Avengers. And so I think at some level they knew we have to build up the new team to even make this movie.
Right,
Do you know what I mean? The Kang
right.
Dynasty. So because you can't just jump right to Robbie Downey Jr. and Toby. I mean, I wished you did. You know what I mean? But from their perspective, they're probably like, we can, and we need to, set some seeds and set some new characters. So yeah. Yeah.
Hey, well, look, all I gotta say is, like, I have faith that they'll bring this shit together. Like you said earlier, like, I got more faith in where we are right now with Marvel to be able to, like, pull this shit in and to be able to rein it together because, like, the fact that we are able to talk about what we talked about for so long shows that the pieces are there. Like,
Yeah.
they're still putting our shit there. They're just not
Yeah, well,
like
because what would we talk about with Star Wars? Like, what's there to talk? What's there to speculate about Star Wars?
yeah.
Whether Bo Katan's going to take over Pedro's show?
Or no,
Do you know what I mean?
I
Like
think the
that's.
bigger topic is whether or not they're gonna have kids or
I
not.
mean,
Eh,
that that's possible, but at the end of the day, there's no there's no like end point that we're trying to reverse engineer.
right,
There's no like crazy thing on the horizon that makes us speculate and have hype. Like
exactly.
they've broken that. And I think they kind of broke it with The Last Jedi, and then they just kind of continued to break it. So like Marvel still has that. And dude, we've got Deadpool 3 coming. We've got the Fantastic Four. We've got Secret Wars, and I think Eternity Wars, and World War Hulk, and all these crazy things. Daredevil Born Again. We have these projects on the horizon, and it's not just that we're excited about the project. We're excited about what the project means for the overall story. Like that is why Marvel has succeeded the way they have thus far. It's why they're going to continue to succeed, and it's why even now, when they're at their lowest point, fans are still able to have the conversation we just had, and to speculate and to get excited about the different things. So yeah, they're way ahead, bro. Like it's like the Patriots in their heyday with Brady having an
Facts,
off season.
facts.
You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, like it's still the fucking Brady Patriots. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's just
Yeah.
it's just the Rams' time to win the Super Bowl this year. But
Hmm.
you mentioned Deadpool 3, and I hope I can like just dive right back into that nerdy shit
Yeah,
with
yeah.
you. I want to ask your thoughts. So like we always hear this shit about Agents of Shield is canon. Always,
Hmm.
and it made me think because like I made a
Yeah.
I made a short about it, um, to basically explain why it's not canon, and to basically explain why the Fox X-Men universe is not canon,
Hmm.
and why the versions of Tobey Maguire, the Tobey Maguire version that we saw in Spider-Man, isn't the same Tobey Maguire. Hear me out.
Okay.
T- the TVA prunes timelines when they get past a certain point. We know that. But I'm thinking if we wanna get literal and, like, kinda get meta to explain every multiverse, like, every property that's existed before the MCU,
Yeah.
what if they use the multiversal war to destroy timelines of,
Yeah.
like, the movies that we saw before Iron Man? So anything that happened before 2010 was destroyed in the multiversal war.
Yeah.
However, when you come over after 2010, these universes, these other franchises, they're just branch timelines that are waiting to hit a fixed point in time to where they have to be pruned. So, for
Yeah.
example, with Agents of Shield, the fact that Agents of Shield could be so bitchy and run just right along, and we never hear anything about Agents of Shield, they get Coulson and all that shit. The reason why it could go on for 7 seasons without getting pruned is because they're following along until you get to a fixed point in time to where I don't even know
Mm.
how that show really ended, but I know
Sure.
that it
Yeah.
didn't end. I know that they decided to separate themselves from whatever was going on. It feels like they
Yeah.
decided to separate themselves from whatever was happening. Then from that point, they got pruned. So that being said, when these people come back, so everything comes back after He Who Remains gets stabbed, it gets killed. So the Toby, his universe is now able to live again because there's
Yeah.
not the TVA isn't pruning it. Andrew the same way. All of these people that we're seeing come back aren't technically the same
Well, dude,
one
it's funny you
per
say that.
se.
Look, I've thought a lot about this because I think from the one perspective, here's what's tricky. Okay. I think you're right, but I think Feige wants you to think that about everything
Mm.
except the Fox X-Men because he made the Fox X-Men.
Yeah.
He was there with them. And also they outright own it now. So the idea of the Fox X-Men movies being more valuable to the catalog is ultimately better for Disney now,
Mhm.
right? So it feels like, again, from that producer perspective, Feige wants it to be the same.
Mhm.
And I almost feel like in everything they don't fully control, which look, he doesn't like Jeff Loeb. Okay. Him and Jeff Loeb did not get along, and there was some major beef there. And Jeff Loeb was the Agents of Shield, and
Yeah.
Jeff Loeb was on the Daredevil and the Netflix stuff, right? So I just feel like what you're going to get is that when it comes to them, yeah, it's a variant. But when it comes to the Fox X-Men, like, no, that was them. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Because the nostalgia doesn't quite work if you don't feel like it's the exact character from the old stuff.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, it is a pickle though, bro, because you're right. Like, it doesn't feel, it's weird. But when you were watching No Way Home, did you feel like it was the same characters? Because I did. I really did.
I felt like it was the same. But then
I
this just
didn't.
comes to but I mean, but the thing is, it's just a reborn version of it. So, like, it's
Well, I mean, to your point, is it the same in the sense that 99% of everything was the same and then maybe a few little things were
yeah,
different,
just like a few
right?
possibly like a few little things were different. Or it could just be like to where it is exactly like it's identical because this loop has always happened, but these
Mm,
timelines have just been pruned.
yeah.
Um, so just I think that would only work for like, for example, for like the Agents of Shield or for like the for the Andrew Spider-Man. The
Well, you're
Toby
gonna get
Spider-Man, I
Quake.
think would be different.
You're gonna get
Yeah.
Quake, right? So you're gonna get and I think that character will answer a lot of those questions. And I think, unfortunately, for Agents of Shield fans, it's gonna prove that it's a different timeline, right?
Yeah.
I've even heard rumors that they're gonna make her a mutant. You know, yeah, which is kind of wild. But regardless, it's gonna be pretty much confirmed that it is not the same character. Um, so yeah, I think that he will do that. That was a variant universe.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you this: did you feel the
Mhm.
nostalgia feeling when you saw Professor X in that chair?
So I did, but I also didn't think he was the same Charles
Right.
from any of the Fox X-Men.
Right.
Right.
But
So that is an interesting call because it's like, oh shit, like, and they even play that. And to
yeah,
me, he could end up being the one from the 90s show, right?
and that's where my head
Um,
was at for a while.
yeah,
At one point I thought like the '90s, the animated shit was gonna be in the 838.
it
Which
still could.
yeah,
We
we
don't
still
know
could. Like I don't know, but like
because
that's
they had a shared universe. The Avengers existed in the 90s X-Men because they had
mhm,
all kinds of crossovers back then. So could be.
Yeah, could be, man. Hey, well, anything else you wanna hit on?
Uh, yeah, so there's
Uh,
only I think there was one other thing that I was thinking about that I didn't touch on. Oh, here's the one thing that I wanted to say is that I think it's kind of interesting that 838 seemingly has a lot of the same events, right? To me, again, I think of fixed moments in time. And the fact is, though, that they were just way ahead of us in a lot of different ways. And so it's just weird that in the sacred timeline, it seems like things went slower. And then Thanos is not afraid of the Avengers and is way just more like about that life and
mhm,
ends up snapping. The snap does not happen in the 838 universe,
mhm.
right? So I wonder if you have any thoughts on like what that could mean.
So, one, I think it's just a clear indication of one, like, in a world where you have mutants, where you have, like, minds of the mutants, and you have a Tony Stark, like, to me, that seems like the world where we got everything we wanted in the MCU. Like,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
so, like, that's a world where it's not hindered by He Who Remains. Like, it's not hindered because I feel like He Who Remains is the reason why the mutants aren't there.
Yeah.
Um,
Could be. Could be.
so, like, to me, that's that would explain that. Now, to, when it comes to Thanos, I think Thanos was definitely scared of nobody
Oh,
but
yeah.
Doctor Strange. I think
Well,
Doctor
it could.
Strange was the
He
one.
wears the armor. He's got the
Yeah,
gems on Titan. So he's obviously not. Yeah. He was scared of something for sure.
and yeah, like I said, I definitely think that it was Doctor Strange he was scared of. Like,
Mm.
because I don't think the Illumin here's my shit, like, I think the Illuminati was lying more than motherfucking, than Kang the Conqueror, because
Interesting. Okay.
I went back 'cause I got a short in the works on this, but, like, when they go back and they talk about, like, what happened as to why they had to kill Doctor Strange and how they defeated Thanos, he was like, "We worked together and we used the Book of Ashanti to defeat Thanos."
Yeah.
I think that happened because I think Doctor Strange defeated Thanos all by himself.
Sure.
And really, when you look at Doctor Strange's hands, they're black, like, when you zoom into
Mhm.
Doctor
Mhm.
tapping into the dark hole,
Yeah.
and when you look at how, Thanos is sprawled out, the it instantly invokes when he's being picked up by, the Scarlet Witch, when he's
Right.
being
Yeah.
picked up in Endgame. And
Mhm.
basically, the sword was broken. Remember, the Scarlet Witch broke his
Yeah.
sword, and
Yeah.
she picked him up. And if she would have finished that kill, it's pretty possible that she could have just got the shit and just slammed him down.
Yeah.
In my
True.
mind,
Yeah.
they're thinking about Doctor Strange going through different timelines and trying to find ways to defeat Thanos. I think he saw what Wanda did there. So
Mm.
really, like, I think he understands that it's a different fucking from what we see, he understands it's a different fucking level. It's different from what we're
Yeah.
dealing with there. And then
And
my
yet
whole
he loses,
and
right?
he loses because I think he just loses because Doctor Strange
But
was
so
that
here's my
dude.
right, right. But here's what I can't figure out is then it seems like what that means is that he who remains wanted the Avengers to endure the snap.
Yeah,
One possible explanation is he wanted as much time as he could of stopping Steven from going out there. Because if you think about it, Steven's accident happens 4 years later in 616, and there's a 5-year gap. So it's like 9 years. He's essentially 9 years behind the 838 Steven, who's dead, but like all the other Stevens. He's like 9 years behind them. I wonder if like that's intentional.
like did he want
And
to delay the discovery of the multiverse?
yeah, or he wanted to delay Steven from discovering the multiverse.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that
Yeah,
makes that
there's something to that.
that actually makes sense because if Steven was at a different point, so let's say the events of Endgame happens and Steven is more advanced, like he would have been in Multiverse of Madness in the 838. Possibly he sniffs out what Loki is doing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
possibly he
Mhm.
snips out that cog in that plan. That's
Yeah. It's kinda interesting. Let me ask
yeah.
you another question.
Yeah, yeah,
Do
go ahead.
you think 838 had time travel?
It makes sense that they would.
They have to,
It makes sense that they would.
because number 1, they have the time stone,
Mhm,
presumably, right? Number 2, the platform Reed uses, that's Doctor Doom's time platform.
mhm.
That's the platform all the Kangs use to show up at the council. So, like, it seems like they have it.
I feel like if you were especially to be that well versed in the multiverse too, Like,
Right. Yeah.
I feel like they have answers that we don't,
Yeah,
in
but
the
I feel like
sequences.
we have answers they don't.
What would one be?
Probably just the Mobius strip and
Okay.
how the time travel worked in because if they have time travel, they likely have it via a completely different
Different
technology
tech.
than we do.
Yeah.
Because Tony creates, well, helps to create by using the quantum realm, the time travel that they use in the time heist. There's no
Mhm.
need for them to do that in 838. And in fact, they probably just have Reed and he just kind of like figures out time travel to some level.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking. Reed figures it out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he probably figures it out. So the fact that Tony figures it out, I mean, in in order to, stop Thanos, maybe there's something there. Maybe that like sets He Who Remains on a different way to manipulate the multiverse of time or something, you know?
I think there's something deeper to what they did with the 838.
What
Yeah, what I think there is something deeper there. I haven't dug into it,
mm.
but I definitely think there is something.
Because the rumor is, and by the way, dude, all right, because I know we're just like going
Yeah,
here,
we're
right?
just talking. Yeah.
We're just going. But how mad are you gonna be if they remove the incursion from the end of the Marvels?
Pretty pissed off. I
Because
have no
that's
reason to see it anymore.
well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, is like that's the rumor, bro, is that they've removed that.
The fuck, like,
I
all
don't
right,
know why. I don't get it
the
either,
fuck is
but
Miss Marvel about then? Captain Marvel,
I don't know. Maybe they just removed I don't know, bro. But I did hear that that might be one of the things they're taking out of the third act, which I'm just
because
like, that's mind blowing.
that was like perfect to see,
Yeah,
especially for having the 838 to have Monica stuck over there with her
exactly.
mom.
Mhm.
Like, bro, the fuck?
If
No,
anything, what I would do is just make it so that
make
Bree gets stuck over there and
no
take her ass out,
get Bree stuck
make
in the
Monica
motherfucking in
the
between
Avenger.
shit.
Yeah,
Just get her
there you
stuck in
go.
the in
Yeah.
between shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fuck everything else. Just have her stuck out there for the rest of phase 5
Something
and
like
6 and
that
7 and
would be
shit.
nice. I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, I mean, I am on team I am on team recast. I mean, I'm on team Monica for Captain
Yeah,
Marvel.
for sure. Me too. But don't worry, because Jeff Snyder's not reliable. You don't even have to
Hey,
think
yeah,
about that, bro.
yeah. I don't. It was all like hopes and dreams for kind of a second. It
Oh,
I
it's a
felt like it was gonna
toxic
be.
old dude,
Yeah,
just being toxic about a woman, bro. That's what it
yeah.
was.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I missed that part. I didn't know that's what.
Jeff Snyder, man.
But yeah, yeah. That would piss me off because even in the poster, it kind of gave me clues and hints of like Monica being stuck up here,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Curl right here, and then damn, come on, bro.
I know. I really hope that's not true. I think maybe we'll find out more soon.
Who said it?
Um,
Do you know?
I
Did you
think
say who said it?
it was either the Watcher or Can We Get Some Toast that was talking about it.
All right, until my time where Daniel say that shit,
Yeah,
I'ma just
yeah.
hold on to hope.
Yeah, for
Fuck.
sure. Exactly. Hold that hope.
But fuck. But damn.
I know, right? Well, don't do it, Feige. At the end of the day, it was literally the only thing getting a lot of us to go. I mean, who am I kidding? We'll
They
see it either way, right?
yeah,
But
they can't do it. I mean, I guess Ant-Man would be the one that touches into the multiverse shit. But my mind was thinking like, okay, we're gonna get Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't expect any of that shit to be
no, I don't
multiverse.
expect
So
any of
like,
that. No.
I mean, the Marvels was it. But damn.
Yeah, the Marvels would make a lot of sense. Maybe they're just altering it slightly and it'll still
Yeah.
happen, but they close it really quickly or something. And I would love for 838 to still be a thing, and there were rumors like that evil Iron Man from 838 is absolutely real and it's
Mhm.
something they want to play with moving forward. So yeah, I don't know. I hope it's still in there, and either way, I hope they fix it. Whatever's wrong with the Marvels, I hope they fix
You
it.
know
They
I
have
was riding for
time.
the Marvels.
Yeah.
I was riding for the Marvels and shit. I was just riding for it.
I
I
mean,
thought it
look,
could I
it's
thought it
just
had a
tough, dude. It's
yeah,
tough to hear the
that's just
shit,
tough to hear.
Yeah,
Damn
it
it.
is. Yeah.
But there's brighter times ahead. Like, dude, I do have hope. I do have hope for Loki. I do have
Of
hope for
course. Of course.
I
And
do
that'll
have hope
be
for Secret Invasion. If
me
they
too.
make Secret Invasion a Disney Plus like um so what was it? Fucking Winter Soldier type esque shit.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
yeah.
they do that, because like
Yeah.
I went back and watched fucking I went back and watched. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was like crazy because I didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the vibe, I think they did do a good job of with the vibe and the tone that they was trying to set for it. It was just
Mm.
the story was just ass
I'll tell you,
to
I
me.
think the first episode of that show is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's fantastic, and it does have a really good tone. The problem was they gutted it and tried to remake it, and they
Mhm.
just tried to act like that didn't exist.
Those
The
moments.
the the Flag Smasher shit is absurd. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense, and there are a lot of scenes in the show that don't make any sense, but there's a good show in there.
Mhm. Like, the tone that they have from everything that honestly doesn't involve even if some of the tone with the Flag Smash, like, the just tonally is a good.
Yeah,
I think
for
it was
sure.
what they were going for, and, like, the moments that stand out, like, the moments between the Wakandans and John and, like, them getting the shield back from John and all that shit, like, those moments stand out.
They
But,
do, yeah.
like, if they can reel that into, like, that type of intensity into, into Secret Invasion, like,
Yeah. Yeah,
the Secret Invasion could be it.
I just recorded a video about Secret Invasion. It'll probably drop on Saturday because there's some new kinda stuff out there about it,
Mhm.
and, yeah, I too I have some high hopes for it, man, and, you know what else is I would love for there to be, like, some really actual secrets in Secret Invasion. Did you hear about this shit going down in Scotland with, Samuel L. Jackson right now?
Nah, I ain't hear shit.
So, I'll tease it a little bit. It's gonna be in the
Okay.
video on Saturday, but, like, apparently there's this random town in Scotland,
Uh-huh.
and, basically what happened was there's a top secret filming going on there, okay? And there was like because it's some park in Scotland, and there was like a Mother's Day shit they had planned, which I guess they have Mother's Day on a different day, right?
Mm.
And basically what happened was they planned to not have the cameras rolling over the weekend. They had all the trailers packed up off of the thing and people were still going to come in there. But for whatever reason, they still had to film on the weekend. It's just show business, something happened. So
Facts.
the
Okay.
local gazette for this fucking random town in Scotland puts up a picture and says basically, we apologize to everybody that was inconvenienced that like wanted to come to this thing. There's a big movie shooting here, and we thought they weren't going to be shooting here on the weekend. Oh, by the way, somewhere near this bush earlier today, makeup was put on Samuel L. Jackson. And then in the last paragraph, they say, like something like Marvels like this don't happen every day. So they were like being like kind of they were being kind of
Yeah.
cheeky about it. But I think it's Marvel trying to shoot some top secret shit with Sam Jackson and maybe other cameos and people for Secret Invasion,
Fuck with that.
which is crazy because it's right after he snaps a lot of leaks away, right? Like, dude,
Yeah.
this dude moves
He
real.
moves his
Yeah, like he's crazy behind the scenes. So I wouldn't mind a surprise or two.
who could it be though?
It would be one of the current big players in the MCU revealed to be a scroll.
Okay.
That's what you know what I mean? And I don't think it would be Sam, um, but it would be somebody of note, Don Cheadle, maybe. Um,
Don Cheadle, I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking of scroll list. I mean, of course, Sharon Carter is on my scroll list.
yeah, big time. Yep.
I think she's huge on my scroll list. Could hmm, Don Cheadle being a scroll like my issue with that is it goes down to just the recasting shit. Like I don't want it to
Mm.
be like that simple to be like that's why he looked
Oh, yeah, I
different.
don't want that
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
No,
like
no,
I
I don't
don't,
like that.
but I know like as soon as they say Don Cheadle is a scroll, motherfuckers gonna be on YouTube saying, "Has he been a scroll since Iron Man 2?" Like, as soon
And then
as,
they'll show
like
those videos of old bull saying the stuff about the quadratic equation and like, have you ever seen those interviews with him?
uh-uh, I haven't seen
Yo,
those.
he like lost his mind a couple years back, and he was like being interviewed, and he's talking about like all this like quantum shit, how there's no straight lines, and how he figured out. He's like, so why would I? Oh, you got to look it up sometime, man. He
I
he
got
he
who was that,
he
Terrence
had
Howard did that shit?
yeah, Terrence Howard. Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah,
had just look
Don
up
Cheadle
like
wouldn't.
yeah, no, just look up Terrence Howard, no straight lines, and you'll see what I'm talking about. He like it was one of the craziest answers I've ever seen a celebrity give in an interview. Um, but yeah, no, that would be you're right. People would probably make that point and try to Make it a real thing.
Yeah, like that's all I can think of is like just real quick, like. But okay, so you got. I do have Sharon.
Mhm.
I wouldn't mind Sam being the scroll to be honest with you, because honestly, like I don't.
You don't like him. You're like, "Yeah, make him a scroll."
Make him a fucking scroll.
Yeah.
Somebody in Wakanda could be like.
Ooh, dude, that would be
I would love for
nuts.
somebody in Wakanda to be a scroll.
Hmm.
Whether that would be, I want to say, fucking not a Koya, maybe a Koya. Now I was about to say not Nakia, but if I were to break it down and we look at maybe Nakia would be the perfect one to be a scroll. The
Yeah.
only problem is she just had the childless baby.
Right, exactly.
But
That's a little rough, especially with what
yeah,
what they're trying to do
what
with
the
that, so
yeah, but Nakia would be the perfect one to be a scroll because she's a spy. Um,
yeah.
and that would be cool to go
Yeah.
down the line.
What do
Anybody
you think
new?
about Yelena?
Yeah, I was about to say Yelena would be cool to be a
Yeah,
new one.
I think
Um,
Yelena could be one.
Hayward, no,
Hayward?
anybody is.
Hayward?
But I feel like he's playing too close with fire. Like if he's a scroll and he knows like everybody in Sword is like maybe
Yeah,
a scroll.
but bro, like, that was the thing in, like, part of the joy of the Secret Invasion comic was, like, just the continuous "oh shits." You know what I mean? Where, like, no way it's this person, and then it is. You know what I mean? And you're just like, "Oh, shit." And the other thing that was really crazy about that was Nick Fury was one of the only people that saw this coming. So he's gone
Mhm.
for, like, a time even before Secret Invasion. And they're like, "What is the deal?" But, like, he saw it coming, and he knew he had to take himself out of the equation. Otherwise, the scroll would be Nick Fury and have all the power that he had. So he, like, sees it coming and, like, takes himself out of the equation. It's fascinating. Um, yeah, man, it'd be cool to see some
So
heavy hitters like that.
so who do you think would be the scroll? My shit is who do you think would be the scroll that Thunderbolt Ross like? Well, first off, do you think this is gonna last past Secret Invasion, like the scroll
Yes,
shit?
yes,
Yeah, I
I
think
do.
so.
Yeah,
So do you think it would? My thought is it would come to an end during Thunderbolts. It's like that's where the
maybe.
Secret Invasion comes, like to where you kill the Scroll Queen or you kill the whoever the head scroll is gonna be.
Yeah, to in order to sort of have well, it's hard to say, right? Like in the comics, of course, Norman kills her and then he takes control of everything and becomes like the Dark Avengers and all that, right?
Mm,
Um, I don't know how they're gonna explain uh Red Hulk president, but I think it's kind of gonna just be as simple as like after all the shit everybody's been through, they like want like like a hard dude, like strength through
yeah.
power. Like that's what you're looking for, right? So I think that could be why he gets voted in because basically everybody's like, yeah, we want that general. We want the guy who like has
Yeah.
a plan, right?
So
To
you don't
like
see a moment
defend
where
us.
like he's got like blood on his face and he turns around, it's like vote for me for president type shit, and everybody goes crazy.
I
You think it's just
mean,
like on default, like
yeah,
they
I mean
fuck with his status and the
it's like more like it's like an extreme tough on crime. Okay. So
okay.
like if crime is high, then the candidate that's really tough on crime gets a big boost.
Okay.
Right? But if crime is, like, chilling and, like, nothing's, like, really that bad, it's not a big consideration on a lot of people's minds, right, from the political perspective.
Makes
So I
sense.
think it's just gonna be, like so depending on who his opponent is, we have to assume he's, like, Republican and he's, like,
Mm,
more, big military, like, a lot of defense, right? Whoever his opponent is, just probably, like it'll just come down to people saying, like, "That guy's not gonna protect us, but this guy might." You know what I mean?
I mean, I would vote for a Red Hulk. Like fuck.
Oh, hell yeah, hell yeah.
like, like
I
fucking
wonder
Thanos just
if
fucked us
they'll
up.
know yeah, I wonder if they'll know that he's Red Hulk right away. You know what I mean? Like, I do wonder how that's gonna go down.
That's
Is
why I
it
was thinking like he turns around and it's like and possibly he's running for president or some shit like
mm,
during the time, or like it's kind of in the rumblings. But that's why I was thinking he kind of is revealed as the Red Hulk in like a public format, to where it's like so like the
before the
moment where
election or after it?
before the election. So like
Mm,
in I kind of liken it to fucking Homelander when he turns around and everybody's clapping for him in season 2.
yeah.
Like he does that like
Yeah, yeah,
speech
true, true,
and then he
yeah.
realizes everybody fucks with him. It'd be like
Mhm.
the time and moment where like whether I guess he's fucking possibly fucks up the century, or like I was thinking maybe just kills a scroll. like the Scroll Queen and Cameron ends and shit. Like that's
I
what the
mean, I gotta be
transforming
honest with you,
impact
that I would
is to me.
love it. I would love that. I feel like they might ease us into it a little bit and
Okay.
have him be revealed as Red Hulk eventually, because I think what you'll do is they'll probably play around with the tension between Sam and you know, Harrison Ford. And
Mm,
so they'll have a lot of scenes of like essentially Ross wanting Wilson to be a Captain America
God, you just
to
reminded me
lead.
he's got to be in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna make him like wanna, put together the Avengers and then lead them militantly, right?
Okay.
Which Sam is not gonna want to do because he's literally against that. He's against the oversight. He doesn't want orders. He's like, it's
Yeah.
totally against him. He was on Cap's side. So I think that's where a lot of the tension will build from. And remember, too, in Captain America New World Order, now it's seemingly really about Tiamat Island.
Mm,
So it's not about Red Hulk versus Cap, although that
yeah.
will happen. That's like a subplot to Tiamat
New World Order.
Island, adamantium, that all that kind of stuff. So I mean, we'll see. They're shooting it right now,
Yeah.
so we'll
Shit.
see.
You just had to remind me that he's in that fucking movie though. Now I'm sitting here thinking of picturing myself watching Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie
Yeah,
having these dialogues, and I'm just all I hear in my mind is this self-righteous Sam Wilson
I
talking like
know.
he was, and like, bro, like, I just can't imagine him pulling out gravitas of that shit.
But
But
that's why it's great that it's going to be Ford.
yeah, because he'll
Because
pull
the
it off.
reality is most of us are gonna be like, "Yeah, get him." You know what I mean? Like, and that's kinda what it's gonna be, dude. And, Sam will still do some dope shit and, like, kinda save the day in the end and whatever, but, the other side of it that's really weird, and I hope they do this, like, I hope they don't just paint Ross as this total villain. I would love if they had a little bit more nuance in it, and it was like, yo, this dude needs kept in check, but he also could be right about this in some sense. Do you know what I mean? Because if they just like paint him as like villain, 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 and then like they get him out of there, like oof, like I don't know how that's gonna go over with people.
All right. So I just got a super chat in from Nerd Mafia. Says, ain't it a little suspicious? That's Green Bear, by the way. Says, ain't it a little suspicious how Kang shows up in Ant-Man 3 and we never see him and Louise together in the same room? Look, hey,
Mm, mm,
you ain't never seen me and Jonathan Majors in the same room either. But nah,
that's true.
but nah, like I wish they kind of played on. Like I don't know. I thought
No,
that was a cool
I
thing to play
love
on.
that character, man. I love that character.
You remember
I
that? You remember that theory I had?
what that
Kang was
he's
Louise's Kang. Louise was like the 616 variant of Kang. Because my thought was
wait, yeah, this is after Loki, right?
yeah,
You
this
had
was a
this
minute
theory.
ago. Like this was maybe
Yeah.
like 7, 8 months ago. But like
Okay.
my theory was like, well, you got it. He who remains who's outside of the 616. But what is the
Mhm.
616 Kang doing? And I was
Mm.
like, he's going through time influencing shit. So what else would he
Oh, I
do
do
other than
remember this theory.
what else would
Yeah,
he do
okay.
other than go
Yeah,
with
yeah.
like Ant-Man who does the shit with time?
That's true.
And you think about Louise and his power to tell stories and shit. Like
Yeah.
I missed it. Yeah, that was a good one, but now I'm putting it
Yeah,
to the
that was a
test.
good one. That would be fun, and then they were like, "We're not even bringing him back
We're not
for
even bringing them back.
It's
Like,
like, dude, what?
shit.
Jeez, man, you brought Korg back, but
Like they
not
could have fucking
Louis?
done any like he couldn't have wiped out like fucking Wyoming from existence or some shit. Like he couldn't have gone into the real world. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I enjoyed Ant-Man 3 for what it was, but damn. Uh,
Yeah, I
but
just
damn.
I try not to, like, focus on the fact that I fucking hate it because I hate it. But I still like Kang, and I still like the theories that come from the movie. I've probably watched more of the film just kinda scrubbing through, 7 Seas copies for,
Facts.
clues and stuff like that. But no, like, as an actual functional film, like, it's just very low on my, desire list?
Well, I mean, to be honest, this is the first time Marvel's ever really dropped some shit that I just won't go watch again.
Yeah.
And like Love and Thunder, I said I would never watch this shit again. And like my wife wanted to see it because she didn't go to the movies. And fucking like we didn't make it. Like
Yeah.
she still ain't seen the end of that shit. Um,
It's a
So,
rough
like,
one, dude. It
I'm
is
I'm curious
just
to see if Ant-Man will have that same effect. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if it was that bad to be like, I will not watch this movie if it's on type shit,
yeah.
but, like, because I don't watch Ant-Man. Do I watch Ant-Man 2 if it's I feel like I've only watched it because it was on. So, like,
Yeah,
I
same,
don't
same.
seek it out,
Ant-Man in
but
general, like, they're just alright. I think the first one's the best, and the second one's, like, okay. Like, it has some fun moments, some cool moments, but, yeah, I mean, it's overall not a great time, and it's so isolated from everything too that, like, I don't even think about it when I think about a rewatch, you know?
mhm,
Um Yeah, it's a tough one. I think Ant-Man is I mean, look, I hate the movie, right? I despise it. But I didn't think it was going to be the movie that got rid of Victoria Alonso. Like even I was like, wow, like that's wild. So from Disney's perspective, it's an L that would not stand.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, that just shows you like because they like again, Feige was told about them firing Victoria Alonso. It wasn't
Like,
his
he couldn't
call.
even do shit about it. Like, that's what I was like, I read that
He
and I
didn't
was
even
like,
try,
"That's wild."
apparently.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. He didn't even try. Like, the article's pretty careful in mentioning that he didn't try to interfere, and they even speculate in the article that that means it's possible that they already had a rocky relationship or whatever. Um, I mean, look, the fairy tale version of this is everything that was wrong with Marvel the past couple of years is her fault, and now she's
Mhm.
gone and it's gonna be fine. That's kind of low key what they want you to think, you know? Um, and I don't know, maybe there is some truth to that. I've even heard some people like Grace speculate that like maybe some of the, because Feige during the Infinity Saga was pretty iron grip. He wasn't gonna let you do stuff. He lost directors and people said he was too ruthless and things behind the scenes. He let some shit slide in phase four and he like let Chloe do her thing. He, for a lot of these movies and shows, She-Hulk as well. So I'm wondering, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what changed? Was it Victoria Alonso? Was she the one that was like kind of saying, like, Kevin, it'll be fine? I think some people in the audience that aren't like the nightmare version of this is her
Mhm.
being like, Kevin, there are people not like you, Mr. White Man, that would actually like this. And like, I wonder if she like got inside his head and got him to like
I think she
check
did.
himself.
I
Bro.
think she did.
Oh
I
my
think she did.
God. Because, like, can you imagine? Because, like, dude, like, he just has that gift, but, like, it's so weird to, like, be put in the position of thinking, "Well, maybe I don't." You know what I mean? Like, maybe she's right. Maybe a female
I
perspective
think
is,
it's I
you
think it
know?
comes to a point where sometimes like, well, do it for this one, do it for this one,
Mm.
and then we'll see what happens type of thing.
Yeah. Well, they saw what
Yeah, they
happened,
saw what
bro.
happens and we're
Yeah.
here. But
Yeah.
yo, I gotta get out of here before my wife knocks my head off.
Yeah. No
But,
worries. No worries.
yo, thanks for stopping by, man. It was always
Yeah.
a good time to have these nerdy conversations, to
It
get
was
down
good
and
for me too to not be focusing on a lot of the
the others.
other negative stuff and
Yeah.
to just geek out with you. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, no doubt, man. We definitely gotta do this again and,
Yeah.
you know, and just chat it up. But look, everybody else in the chat, I'm sorry I can't go through the comments right now, but I think we just only did get one super chat, and I think I touched that on that basis. So I'll catch y'all in the next one. Again, this is the first episode of Kunch Time. We've done the rebrand here, changing it to King Kunch. Even though you see no listeners at the bottom over there. But changing the rebrand to King Kunch is my gamer tag, and it's short for country. It's a long time nickname. But either way, like I'm excited to see, I'm glad we kicked it off here. And for folks who don't know, to see what this stream, like I'm looking to kind of do a different type of stream format. So just to see
Yeah.
how it kind of evolves and it kind of goes into where we're going here. But look, dude, I appreciate you, Josh. Thanks for stopping by. You're
Of
always there to
course.
stop by and doing what you do at the Den of Nerds, man. And dude, I can't wait. Can't wait to get back in for another one, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Again, thank you for having me.
All right, man. All right. See y'all later, dude. See y'all. Peace out. Deuces.